Good evening. Welcome to another edition of Focus on Hopkins County. We're glad you've joined us for this very special edition of our program. I'm Tim Thomas, your host, coming to you from our new studio here at Surfky here in Madisonville, Kentucky. My thanks to our sponsors and to all those that helped put this program on. We want you to call, let them know that Focus on Hopkins County is on. I am privileged to have with me a very special guest, Silas Matchem Sr., who is the Madisonville Community College Special Project for Student Affairs, correct?
Yes.
And also, he is director of the R.I.S.E initiative as well. Mr. Matchem, welcome to Focus on Hopkins County.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity again to come and share some of the things that we're doing at Madisonville Community College.
Glad to have you back. Glad to have you back. Always good to have you, and appreciate your friendship. And not only that, your mom, who is a schoolmate of mine,
Yes.
A longtime friend of mine, we appreciate her and as well.
Yes, she appreciates you.
That's great. That's great. Tell us, Mr. Matchem, a little bit about yourself and what brought you back to the city of Madisonville.
I was born and raised here in Madisonville. Went to school here. Went to Hanson Elementary, to Browning Springs. Graduated high school from Madisonville North Hopkins. Played a little basketball there, and my mother taught in the school system as a substitute school teacher, so I've always been in education. I was able to go to college and attend Western Kentucky University, and upon graduation I took up student affairs and working with students, and I've worked at a couple of colleges throughout the years. While I was gone, I've actually been back in Madisonville. I think this will be my third year living back here and working for the college. I've actually been gone for 17 years, I believe. Moved away. But the real reason why I'm back here in Madisonville is I have to give credit to the president of Madisonville Community College, Dr. Rhodes, and my supervisor, Dr. J. Parrott, for giving me the opportunity to come in and work with my community at large and helping them get back in school and also stay in school. So the opportunity was presented for me to come back and work within my community, and I jumped at it, and I'm very appreciative for the opportunity that Dr. Rhodes afforded for me to come back here.
Right. You mentioned education. Education is so important. I know education is important to you after finishing high school here. And you mentioned basketball. Very good basketball player.
I was okay. I always say I wasn't the greatest basketball player, but I was one of the best 5 players we had because I started my last 2 years in high school.
Well, see, that's saying something.
So out of my class, I was one of the 5 best players because I played.
Yeah.
And I started.
So there's blessings in small things.
There you go.
That's right. So, okay, moving on from that brilliant career and continuing your education, you went to college. Tell us where you went to college and what you achieved from there.
Well, I went to Western Kentucky University. Actually, I started out trying to play basketball, and I went to a tryout in a small college in Chicago called Cheyenne. At that particular point in time, I went over to the college and I tried out for the basketball team, and I knew it was too far away from home, and at that point I figured I didn't want to play basketball anymore. I just wanted to get an education. A lot of my friends had enrolled and were attending Western Kentucky University. I think it was a group of probably 10 of my graduating class of minorities that were going to Western. So at that particular point in time, I was like, well, I messed up a good thing. I might as well join them and go too. So I ended up enrolling at Western Kentucky University, where I was able to get a bachelor's degree and 2 master's degrees from that institution. When I was on that campus, I learned a lot, particularly about just myself and the process of getting a degree while I was on campus. So it gave me a good framework for the work that I do today.
And what degrees have you achieved since graduating?
I have a bachelor's degree in organizational communication. I hold a master's degree in administrative leadership and public administration.
How did you get into the field of student affairs?
Well, I'm an only child, so I am pretty much used to dealing with myself, having my own, and I didn't like having a roommate. So the hall director at that particular point in time, I was complaining like, hey, if you got any extra rooms by yourself, I can't afford to buy my own room by myself, but if you just got one, can you give it to me, right? He was like, well, I just can't give you a room. I was like, well, if there's just one sitting over there, but I just can't do this roommate thing. It's too much. And he finally said, well, let me help you out a little bit. He was like, we need a hall government president. He said, if you can do that, you can have your own room. It comes with your own room.
Wow.
And I was like, well, sign me up.
Yeah.
I don't know what it entails, but if it's got my own room, I'll do it. Right? So I ended up being my hall government president for that year. And what happened there, I made a lot of connections within housing and residence life. So you could only be hall government president for 1 year. Now, I held that position pretty strong because I wanted to make sure I kept my room.
Sure.
But the question was, what happens afterwards, right?
Yeah.
That year. And I was just always in the right place at the right time because if you were a resident assistant, an RA of a floor, you get your own room. So I was like, obviously, that's the next step for me.
Sure.
I need to be an RA so I can have my own room, right? And that's where it all begins. Just no jokes here. I went and became an RA, and I was all about the room. But I didn't realize the job of an RA when I took the position. They told me I'll have to work the front desk. I was like, okay, I can answer the phones, check people in. But then there was a programming aspect to it. You had to do so many programs per semester for the hall. And that's where I got into student affairs and the programming side of it because I started programming as an RA and putting on different programs for the students in my building. And that ultimately shaped what I wanted to do because I had got used to already working with students, working with my peers, and providing necessary programs that we deemed them that they would be used for success in graduation.
Wow, and it just fell in place.
It just fell in place for me.
And that type of thing doesn't happen by coincidence.
Right.
It's kind of a divine order how things kind of line up.
Right. That's true.
In student affairs, a special project coordinator for student affairs, Madisonville Community College. What are some of the things that you're seeing now?
My particular area happens to deal with working with minority students and help retain and enroll them into college. The particular task that I was giving was to make sure that students are coming in and that they are having programming and success with maintaining their coursework and ultimately getting to the point of graduation. My particular task and initiative is particularly developed for CP, the Council of Post-Secondary Education, is where we work with them to make sure that we're meeting goals and objectives and measures. And from that particular point, my programs are built to ultimately see success for minority students.
And then when we talk about the college and getting students prepared for certain job qualifications, especially minority students, where are we with that in numbers-wise?
In terms of numbers for Madisonville Community College, our numbers have been growing at a steady rate. We're pretty strong with a good minority percentage in terms of it's better than it's been before. Well, it seems to be that way as far as when we look at our data. Overall, minority numbers need to improve because on the scale, we're still 10, 11%. If
That's across the board.
Yeah.
It needs to improve.
So, and that's anywhere that
Yes.
you would go. You will see that the minority population, far as recruitment and retention, or the students that are enrolled, we're still the minority in terms of attendance.
The R.I.S.E initiative, R.I.S.E, capital letters.
Yes.
Initiative. Tell us more about the program and the people that the program serves.
Because of the particular task I was given, I wanted to develop a program that I believe will touch all the areas that you need to be a successful student. So R.I.S.E pretty much stands for retain, integrate, support, educate. Now, this comes from my own personal college experience. When I was going through college, I just went. I knew that I needed to go, right? Like, that was the one thing I understood. But in hindsight, in my older age, I realized that I could have done it a different way. I could have made it much cleaner. Let me clear that up. When I went to college, again, I understood that an education is what you need to be successful in today's society. But I went not knowing exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't have a clear understanding of what financial aid was. I didn't understand the billing process of what it takes when you enroll in college and how you can fail courses and have to retake them, and that you're paying for those classes that you're failing and retaking, and building this huge bill in terms of, personally me, of going to college. And then being on a college campus and trying to figure out exactly what program I want to enroll, who to talk to, who not to talk to. And with that being said, I've put a process together based on what I wish I could have done when I was in college, the things that I should have been aware of. So when I'm talking to individuals, I am really giving them a map to go through college in a seamless process that on the outcome, on the very end of it, will benefit them across the board.
Sure.
And I use, for instance, financial aid part. When I was in college, I didn't understand financial aid. I knew it was the means for me to get an education. I could get grants, loans that would pay for me to go to college.
Sure.
But I did not understand the ramifications on the end of the part of it. Meaning, I got to pay that back one day.
Right.
For the loans part, for the loans that I received. And at that particular point in time, I remember just putting my name on signing paperwork because I knew that I needed the money to go to college, and I also knew that there was additional funds out there that I could use for whatever purposes after I brought my books.
Sure, sure.
Now, you could take an 18, 19-year-old guy who's on a college campus, who's away from home, and you receive $1,500 of extra money left over after everything's paid. Wow, right? I haven't worked for it. I haven't done nothing for it. But here's these funds that I can use. So in the process of it all, those things can, and when you really figure it out, they only get better as you continue to go through the process. But in terms of once you graduate and you get out of school, for those loans that you received that wasn't grant funds or free money, you have to pay back. And one of the biggest things that I love about Madisonville Community College, or just the community college system across the board is the cheap college rates and your ability to go to college your first 2 years, if you would like, and receive 60 credit hours or more. In most cases, you can get 60 credit hours in your general education. And for a lot of people, they don't realize that their first 2 years of college is nothing but general education anyway.
Wow.
Very few get program classes because you got to get English, math, science. That doesn't disappear when you go to college. You end up taking the college level English, math. Most of the time you have to take English, 2 sets of Englishes. You got to take a math class, college algebra. These are all courses that you could take at a community college at a cheaper rate and transfer them into a 4-year school, cutting your price in half by the time you graduate with your bachelor's degree.
That's why this program is so important for young people that's coming up to understand.
We work with high school students. We work with the college students on campus. And we even work with 4th and 5th graders in the elementary school. The 4th and 5th grade program is called my Future Stars program. Very good program. And it allows us to go in and we talk about career awareness, healthcare awareness, and just knowing who they are as students and individuals growing up in Madisonville. We work with probably around 60 to 80 kids every year in the program, and we even do a graduation ceremony that we hold at Madisonville Community College, where we give them certificates and things of that nature to let them know they completed in the program. In the high school, we work with their senior minority population, and the whole idea is to prepare them to get ready to go to college. It's their senior year. You're getting ready to graduate. It's about to be real for in terms of high school is over. What are you going to do now with your life? And we try to help them get ready to go towards that particular area or whatever it may be that they're looking forward to for the next part of their life. And then on the college end, if for the students who attend MCC, we work with them on making sure that we are providing them with the programs that they need to be successful and helping them get towards graduation. For instance, we do programs that would consist of what it would be like to be an entrepreneur. We'll bring people in and we'll have them discuss those particular types of information that they would need if they're considering an entrepreneurial career in their future, or just programs that go all around towards helping them become successful students at MCC.
What are some of your success stories with the R.I.S.E initiative?
Well, it appears that minority enrollment has increased, and it also appears that we've been able to retain minorities at a higher rate. In addition to, it also has had individual successes within each program. For instance, the Future Stars program is probably one of our bigger programs because of the population that we serve, and that program is actually takes part in Pride Elementary. And when we put that program in place, the school was getting ready to test and things of that nature. But after implementation, we were giving credit, some credit. We wasn't the whole reason why, but but the principal even stated that with the implementation of the Future Stars program was one of the reasons why they was able to become a distinguished school. So that being said, that alone has been significant for that program. The Connecting Stars program has shown success just on our high school numbers of minority students who are starting to come from high school to MCC. And their relationships that we're building, working with students in high school and helping them not only come to MCC, but go to college and prepare for what's next in terms of their future.
Wow. That speaks a lot within itself when you talk about, even when you see some growth and you see the positive things that are taking place with it, makes it all worthwhile.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I don't really do this by myself.
Because we're gonna mention, I know you oversee a lot of different programs. A lot of things on your plate, and you can't do this by yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a lot of partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
One of the biggest partnerships I have is with Hopkins County School Board. Superintendent Zelick allows us to work with the students there, and we're very appreciative of the partnership that we have with Hopkins County Schools, because they give us a lot of leeway in terms of working with the students in the high schools and in the elementary school, and we're very appreciative of that. I also have partnerships with Baptist Health, Kentucky Delta Rural Projects. One of my biggest partners is the Kentucky Delta Rural Project for the Future Stars program, and Mr. Chris Price, Sr. He is one of the individuals who helps me work this program. He's actually one of the creators of it in terms of ideas and putting that program together. And all the MCC faculty and staff chip in where they can and help with these programs where needed. And it takes also a village. So I have a lot of individuals from the community come in and work with these programs. If they have a particular area of expertise, I'm one of those individuals to always ask and say, hey, I need for you to come talk to my kids because you're doing something out here in the community that they need to know about.
I know you think education is important, which it is, and it is so important. Tell us why it is so important, especially in this era and in this time in the life of our country and world.
I believe it is the one thing, and I think Nelson Mandela said it's the one thing that can change the world. I believe that. I believe if an individual is in a place where they are trying to figure it all out, the best way to figure things out is to become more educated in the areas that you need to know or have more information about. Just think in terms of the jobs that are out in the world today. I tell this one story to my kids all the time, and I try to use it as a way to get an understanding of how you have to think in terms of your life perspective and education. As I mentioned, my wife and I, we have 4 children. I have 3 girls and my one boy, my son. He's 3 years old now. I'm really proud about that. But I've been to every last one of their births. I mean, I've been there. I've witnessed the whole process. And my first child, I watched this process with the doctor. And then I had 2 twin girls. Wow. And I've watched this whole process again. But it wasn't until my son that I really paid attention, because my twins and my son we used the same doctor for those births. And we got in a good relationship with my wife's doctor. So we would go to the doctor's appointments. And I would notice that every time we went to the doctor's appointment, that they had nurses and other individuals come in, and they would work with my wife, give her, check her blood pressure, do all the things they would need to. And then once they were done, they would say, okay, the doctor's going to be in here. The doctor comes in basically and sits down and looks at my wife, says, how are you doing? Basically goes through a little checklist and says, okay, I'll see you next time, right? Now this happens for 8 months or so of pregnancy. And then into the point where it's time to have the baby. This is where it gets interesting. So I called the doctor. My wife's in labor, doc. It's time. We need to get to the hospital. He says, okay, I will meet you over there, right? Now, when we're going to the doctor's office, we're trying to get there, get my wife ready so we can have the child. And when we get there, we meet nurses, right? So the nurses take my wife back, and we're in the room, to make a long story short. And we go through numerous hours of getting ready for this baby to come into the world, right?
Right.
Now, upon the baby getting ready to come in the world, where the baby is ready to enter the world. Now, there's all this pushing and stuff that goes forward.
Right, right.
Once the point in time when it's time for the baby to see light, they call for the doctor. The doctor comes in essence, to me, all he does is catch a baby, right? And then he hands it to somebody else and says, hey, I'll see you later. Give or take, I know he does a lot more than that. But I'm thinking in terms of the education that the man has that allows him to come in and do this amount of work, and he makes $500,000-$600,000 a year. Based on a skill that if you have the knowledge base, we can all do.
Sure.
But he has the knowledge base to do that. Henceforth, he doesn't do all the hard work, where the nurses have to be in there with the pushing and all the other the gruddy stuff that you don't want to know about. And he comes in at the last moment. And says, okay, I got it, baby, in the world. Passes it on to someone else. Does what he needs to do as far as of sewing up or whatever needs to be done. And he says, I'll see you later. And he goes on to his next patient. That's education. That's knowledge. Because he has a knowledge base of the information that he needs to bring a baby into the world. But he also has such a knowledge base that he has other individuals that take care of A, B, and C. In my conversations with our baby's doctor, he came to me and he said, my neighbor just bought a helicopter pad. And now he lands his helicopter in his backyard. And he said, Silas, I'm thinking to myself, how much money does my neighbor have? And only thing that resonated with me in that conversation was, how much money do you have to live next to the man who can afford a helicopter pad? Right? So that's what education is. To me, it's about being more intelligent and being able to provide for yourself. That's what the world is coming to. It's not as simple as when my grandfather was working, or even my father, where you could go get a job right out of high school and you can make a decent living for yourself. The world is changing. Look at the news. In terms of where we're going, they are trying to implement cars that drive by themselves for the purpose of delivery. They are using drones, or whatever you may call it, to fly in particular items that you might need. You could be, in the near future, receiving your pizza from Papa John's from a little helicopter pad that just comes up and drops the pizza at your front door. These are things that are actually in process of being implemented, actually getting, going to the government to have, so they can be able to use these type of technologies. Most companies work in two processes for the most part. That is being more efficient and also being able to do it quicker. Right? So in those terms, they're always looking for a faster way to get it done and a more efficient process to make it happen. With that being said, that requires less of this and more of this.
We've been talking with Mr. Silas Matchem, Sr., who is the director of the R.I.S.E initiative and also the Madisonville Community College Special Projects Coordinator for Student Affairs at the MCC College. We appreciate him coming and sharing with us today on Focus on Hopkins County. We put on the screens how you can get in contact with Mr. Matchem, the school enrollment times, how you can get involved in getting enrolled, and how you can get involved, have your kids involved in the R.I.S.E initiative. A great opportunity at this particular time in the life of our community. We encourage you to do that. Again, you've been watching Focus on Hopkins County on behalf of our sponsors, people here at Surfky. We ask you to continue to tune in and be a part of this program. I'm your host, Tim Thomas. By all means, keep sharing the dream.